I had probably about 2 weeks ago, I had been running, you know, it's out doing I was doing like mile and a half runs, 2 mile runs. I was like, oh, this is great. And one of my mile and a half runs was running back and then tripped on a broken sidewalk and then just spilled, right? Just like landed on my elbow, landed on my, just wiped out from another guy. Guy came, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm good. I got up and my arm was a little bit numb, but then I sort of like shook it off and I was still kind of running. And I thought, I'm good. Like I'm not feeling anything. I feel okay. And then I went home and I could kind of, little stuff. I've had frozen shoulders in both of my shoulders. It's adhesive capsulitis where it's like you can't, I've had injuries like that in the past where you have to like sort of therapy through it. And so the arm felt a little bit like that. It was just like, yeah, it just kind of feels like I kind of might have sprained something or whatever, but let's go from there. So I kind of kept running and doing stretches and doing like not major weightlifting, but then about a week ago on Monday, I'd done a 2 mile run for the day and, still doing my stuff. But then I go out for a walk with Duncan, and then all of a sudden, the best way I can describe it is like it felt like a rope. It's like you were coiling a rope and it kept coiling in on itself, and it just felt like I'm doing this with the better arm, but it just kind of felt like it was just like it just kind of kept going like that, like it was tightening up, and I was going like, what is going on? Couldn't figure it out. And like, at one point I like told Kate, I said, can you try to like massage this or let me take some ibuprofen or stuff? I took some ibuprofen. I went to bed a couple hours later. It kind of relaxed and it was like, oh, okay, must have been a muscle spasm. And then like 3 o'clock in the morning, it was just like back up like that. And it was like, pain was like about a 7 or 8, starting to get towards a 9. And I was like kind of going, what is going on? I just thought, I've never had a broken bone. And I thought, how did this happen? I haven't did I actually break it? And now I'm just realizing this. End up going down to urgent care to, the doc looks at me and she's like going, well, I think you're okay. And then she touches my elbow. I'm just like, ooh. And she tells me like, you may have broken your elbow. We got to get an x-ray on this and see what's going on. And when they had to bring you in for the x-ray, they literally have to like help you straighten the arm out. This is the bad one. So I'm fine. But like I could it took everything in my power to do. I almost threw up from the pain. Like it was just like I was like literally on the thing with I could, my hand shaking, And I thought, well, this is it. And because she was just saying, like, if that's what it is, we're gonna have to splint you, cast you, And I just thought in the back of my mind, I just thought, holy crap, I got some work I got to do at Disney. There's some stuff I'm doing for the, school fundraising company. I just immediately just thought like all that work that's gone. Like if that happened, fortunately came back, no break, like no break. And she
Praise
just,
God.
thank God, right? She just says, she checked to make sure there was no tendon stuff or whatever. She says, I think this, and here's the big lesson for me. She said, I think what you had is some sort of a contusion or something that's happened in the muscle in that area. And you haven't let it rest. Like you haven't let it rest. So
Yeah.
she ended up giving me a sling, which I use partially if it's like aching a little bit and stuff, just let it rest. But it's really the reminder. It's the physical reminder of going, slow down. Like you have to slow down. And like as much as you want to try to push your way through this or do whatever, like you have to give rest in order for the things to kind of rebuild. And then you can start strengthening and building from there. But super grateful, super grateful. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I was like absolutely convinced. I thought like, and I think the big thing for me, Doug, was like a couple things ran through my mind with all of this. Is it made me run things that ran through my mind were, number one, I know that there's other things that I'm trying to work on, which don't have to rely on me to be, that I can use my mind, my ability, my skills, and my talents, right? Where I don't have to physically be in a place like running around or, uh, standing up not that I'm against it, but it was this moment of going, yeah, you need to build in these contingencies for yourself. For example, I've done like hosting things or voiceover things, and there's been for a long while I've been going, yeah, I can do that so easily, and I have a lot of that experience in the past, and I should have a portfolio of my stuff put together so that people can see what it is I have available, right? But I haven't done that. And this isn't like for myself, I know I also have to give myself a break in the middle of this too, to just kind of go, don't turn this into because it's not like I'm spending countless hours, uh, uh, messing on video games or watching tons of sports or movies or television. I'm not. It's just about having clear focus. So I don't know. For me, it was just one of those big things of going, got it. Now, there's another revelation that I'll share maybe a little bit later if it comes up in the conversation. We'll see. But with all that said, how are you? Are Rick and Nancy down? Are they visiting?
Yep, they're hanging out in the living room, just
Fantastic.
chilling.
Good.
It's been good. But got my chemo today, and it was kind of the same thing where I had sticky notes, all these things I wanted to do while I was doing chemo, but we didn't. The chemo was later this morning. It was 10:30 instead of 8:30. But to sit here and try to work between 8:30 and 9:30 when I had to leave didn't make much sense because I just get something started to pack it up. And then they were delayed getting me back to do the chemo treatment after I got there because they were just busy.
Yeah.
And like, well, I can't sit in the waiting room and do much because as soon as I start something, I know they'll call me back. But then they called me back, and I'm like, I worked through some emails and some things like that, but I needed to work on a SharePoint site, needed to like evaluate a presentation and update it and change it. But I'm like, I can't do that with a single laptop these days. I'm so dependent on, I have a laptop monitor and two big monitors.
Yeah.
That's what I use to get my work done. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I'll just take some PTO today and do what I can do and not worry about the rest of it because
Yeah.
no one else is worried other than me.
I think that's the thing, right? Like I had that happening for myself. Start off just before we started this conversation, Doug and I usually started in prayer. And one of the things I was just saying in prayer was, I had this moment this morning where I was just like, yeah, perfect example. I'm working on a document yesterday, which should have taken me all of an hour. And as I was going through it, there were formatting issues, things that need to get reworked, whatever. It took me 5 hours to work through the one document. It 5 times itself in the course of the day. And I just, and again, I just went, I got towards the end of the day, just feeling frustrated, defeated, and even this morning when I started out, I thought, okay, I got to dust off that document, just do one more thing before I get my day started. And I could feel some of the remnant of yesterday trying to creep in,
Yeah.
But I really felt like God was just saying, let's just slow down for a second and let's just do the next thing. That's all. Just do the next thing, and then that will lead to the next thing. And then, thanks be to God, I've had a somewhat successful day, but I think it's that moment of just, and I know that I have to do it for myself. I did it last night. It basically had to pray a prayer for the virtue of patience, to go, got it. Because that's the thing, I was having a conversation with Kate today too. All of it is for him, right? All of it is for him. And I do know that there are tests and challenges and things that are allowed to happen for us that are about refining and strengthening character. I think that some of these tests also come to go, yeah, this is also a test for you to learn to let this go in this moment,
Yeah.
and to invite me in, and to invite in the Holy Spirit's peace in the moment, right? And to go, okay, this is where I am right now. Let me let it go. Because I get to a point, I'm sure you're probably in the same place, and some of the other listeners are too, where uh, I want to control it. I can see, I've had some stuff pop up in my mind and my vision over the last couple of days, where it's like I see a clear path for several things that I want to work on. Go, oh yeah, that can connect to this, to this, to this, to this. And you get what the vision of it is. It's what's the best example I can give? I tell you this. It's almost like somebody has given a plot of land, right? Somebody's given a plot of land, and it is this, you can see that there's like weeds and all this other stuff, but you can look and you can see the soil is like good. And in your mind's eye, you can see like rows for tomatoes and cabbages and for potatoes over here and for this. And you can see what the vision is, right? And then it's like you go to the tool shed, and it's almost like every single tool is either unsharpened or broken handles, you
Yeah.
know? And you just go, okay, I
Yeah.
gotta go back. You know what I mean? And it's like you're looking at this field and go, I want to get to this thing. But first I also have to work on this thing, right? And then you could get some stuff fixed, and then you realize like there's some really deep weeds here that I've really got to take care of first, right? And I got to go through all that stuff. And in your mind's eye, you see what the thing is, and you're just going, it's that,
It,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking it's that patience between I can see God where you want me to be, but man, I'm not there yet. That's an analogy for life. I can see Jesus and I can see everything he's doing, and I really want to be there, but I got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
That one, at least, we eventually get to like him enough once we pass into the next world. But I had this boss, Lori, loved her to death, great lady. She was a believer. But when we work in the corporate world, you run across people who aren't always believers. Surprise. Some of them have narcissistic personality disorder. And I remember we'd finish a meeting, and Lori and I would walk out together, and she just like kind of paused, just like, create in me a clean heart, God, now.
Create me
It's
a
like,
clean heart, oh
I,
God.
I said, maybe we need to pray for some patience too, because God will get you there, but I understand the need for now.
I was reviewing some of our stuff from one of our earlier talks today, and I do think that God allows these people and these types into our life as well, where I think he's trying to teach us, like, yeah, you got to love them too. I'm asking you to love them too, because I love them,
So hard. Yeah.
and it is hard because you just want to go. Right? I saw a thing. What was it? I saw a thing yesterday on Twitter that said, what happens when you come across, someone that has posted something that you absolutely can't hate, or that you absolutely hate and can't stand. And it was a two-step. It's log off, pray for them.
Yeah.
Log off and pray for them. And that is a very challenging thing. And yet that's exactly what it calls us to do. You were describing that thing of like, you see what it is, right? And there's two stories that pop into mind for me. Is one of them is from C.S. Lewis. I'm not sure which book or essay it's from, but he describes it. It might be in Mere Christianity. I'm not sure which, but he talks about our journey that we have. It's like you're at the top of a hill looking down into a village, right? You're at the top of a hill looking down into this village that's cozy. It's your destination, but the road to get down to it, it goes sort of around and down the hill, and it's sort of a crisscross path. And at times the village even goes out of your eyesight, and it looks like you're going the completely wrong direction, but it's part of the journey that you're going to get to where it is, you know. And then the other one that pops in my mind, I think it was either Rick Warner or it might have been Dave Ramsey had shared this one too, but it was about um, there's a new pastor in a country town, and uh, he's taking over the church, and he's going out to meet the members of the congregation. And so somebody points him out towards one of the farmers, and he says, well, I'll go walk out there during the week and introduce myself as the new pastor. And as he's walking onto this farm, there's this, as he's walking up, it's this beautiful picturesque home, and there's a beautiful fence in front of it, and there's chickens and ducks and dogs in the front, and there's the wife has just put a pie on the windowsill, and it just looks fantastic. And as he's walking along, there's rows and rows of corn and wheat just beautifully made, and it just looks like amazing. I mean, something right out of a Norman Rockwell painting, And just as he's walking up toward the fences, the farmer happens to walk out of one of the rows of corn, and he's filthy. He's like, he's got dirt on him. His clothes are a hot mess and all this. And he looks at the pastor and says, hey, I just want to introduce myself. I'm your new pastor. And the farmer greets him. And the pastor looks around. He says, my goodness, the Lord has blessed you well. And the farmer looks at him and he says, yeah, you should have seen what it looked like when he gave it to me at first.
That's
And
a good one.
I think that's what it is, right? We see what the end is, we see what the stuff is, but also part of the process that God's calling us to is, I need you to roll up your sleeves. I need you to roll up your sleeves and do the work, but also invite me into the work as well, so we can build a relationship and a friendship together. That's something that people don't get with, especially when it comes to creation story in Genesis. People think people think the curse was that, man lost it all. Man lost paradise. Well, no. In the story, Adam's given, charge over all of it, to work and to care and to be a steward of all of that.
Yeah.
What happens in the curse is that there is more pain, toil, and suffering, just as the woman has to deal with that in childbirth and with the relationship with her husband. The same thing goes for man with the pain, toil, and suffering that now comes from the work. We still work. Like, we are designed
Right.
in God's image, which is, God is a creator. He's a craftsman, and we're designed like him to do that. And that there is a version, I'm sure that there's some version of that, that happens according to his will in heaven and in the kingdom. But most people think like, I don't ever want to work. It's like, no. Work isn't bad. It's the pain and the suffering that comes with it, that was a curse that was associated with it. But,
We were designed to create, build, and work. Yeah.
totally.
That's the one thing going through chemo. I keep saying because neuropathy is a problem, especially last week or last 2 weeks and this week with the one chemical I take, oxyplatin, that it damages the nerve endings in my fingers and it builds over time. I'm like, as I told them today, I can't get to the point where I can't work. That's just, and I need my fingers to work. Granted, I could do things without them. I could voice translation and all that stuff, but I just need to be on the keyboard,
Right.
in the mouse, moving things around and getting work done that way.
Right.
Just how I'm wired. It's when you were talking about that example too, with the farmer, and when God gave him the field to begin with, and what it looked like. It's that understanding that God has in place a plan for every single human being. Some reject him, And yet, can you imagine what's going to happen at the end of time when they see what their life could have been? How disappointing that is. I mean, it's hard enough being a Christian knowing that there's a plan and that I'm still going like this, trying to find my way sometimes.
Yeah.
But at least I know God's there to guide me. And so far, He's not led me astray. And it's I kind of fall into with God's bumper rails getting me to where He needs me to be over time. Sometimes a 2x4, I'll admit, but just all those people who, like musicians who are amazing with their God-given ability and what they turn it into compared to what they could have been doing with it. We'll never know.
Doug, this is the thing that continues to just drive me with my work, and because I really do feel like all of that, particularly in the arts, whether it's writing, performing, directing, music, dancing, all that other stuff, that's implanted by us. It comes from a holy, sacred place, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
makes him happy to see it being done, right? It makes him happy to see it being done. And of course, Satan is masterful because he can
Right.
warp all that stuff and take something that's beautiful and kind of corrupt it, right? But I think that that's just been the thing for me more and more, particularly over the last decade plus, where I've been going, no, I'm 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 sick of hiding my faith. I'm sick of hiding what I know, what I believe to be true, and to just, and I do say this, right? Like, listen, Satan can be masterful in the arts, right? Because
Yeah.
it can be, it can be a place where there can be fun and feelings of elation and all this other stuff. And it's also a place where it's very much like a Pinocchio, right? With like Pleasure Island.
Oh yeah.
There's like you can feel like, hey, it's great. And it's like well, there's a price to be paid. And it's and because sometimes there's so many people that are, I'm not going to say this for everybody that's in the arts, but I've seen it in some of the areas that I've been in. There's a lot of people that come from wounded backgrounds, people that were hurt or molested or whatever that was, or, you know, households where they didn't have a voice or anything like that. And suddenly they got into an area where, you know, and believe me, the arts can be filled with predatory like people that are in there that just go, oh my gosh, you're great, come on in, come on in. And next thing you know and you see that happening with introduction to, you know drugs or booze or sex or sexual proclivities or whatever that stuff is. And it's just like, you know and so Satan is masterful with it. And I feel like that's the thing that's really driven me, particularly over the last decade or so, to go, no, this can be like a really good thing. Like you can really use these abilities and skills for amazing, life changing stories or pieces of art or music that could radically change people and ultimately have them sort of open up their eyes and their heart and just go, oh, this is you, God. This is what you're calling me to. So,
Yeah.
that's, and, that's the thing. I mean, so many people think, Rick Warren talks about it a lot. I've heard other pastors talk about this too. People get so afraid of Christianity, right? They get so afraid, like they think, like, I don't want to be that. Like if I go that route, then all I'll be is like a holy roller, or I'll have, like crazy hair. And thank you, Jesus. Like they think that that's what it's all going to be. And it's like, no, I mean, the experience I've had, I'm sure the experience that you've had, is like the more and more that you let go of the world and all the other trappings that it has, the more you start becoming more what you were designed to be, you
Right.
know? And you just go, oh, yeah, this is what it is, Lord. Like, this is what it is. Me just being what you designed and created me to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know?
And in the smallest of ways too. I learned something really cool today. Hang on just a second because I have to show you this thing.
Okay, go
This
for
is
it.
really made a lot of people's day. All right, you ready for something really cool?
A little octopus, eh?
Rick's wife crochets these in like minutes,
Does she?
literally minutes. I watched her do one, and like we just got through talking about it, and she had another one done. Rick brought a back of these to the chemo treatment today. Nancy stayed here and hung out, and she went to a park and walked around. But Rick brought these into the chemo place and just walked around and handed them out to people. This one woman just made her day that she got this. And I could hear him throughout the chemo ward just handing these out, like letting them pick the color they wanted, color combination. One guy got one that was multicolored. We called it
Wow.
the Rostopus because it looked like
Yeah,
a Rastafarian hat. It
that's
was really
amazing.
cool. But it's like someone like Nancy using her talents
Yeah.
for God, for just to be generous and give back to people who are struggling in this world.
Yes.
And like, this is my little purple one. And
Yeah.
we always think it has to be these grandiose things, but I've learned from Nancy over the years, just it's the small things in life. It's the things that people don't see. It's we didn't turn a camera on to show Rick taking, you know, virtue signaling with everyone getting octopus. It was just he just walked around and did it, and that was that. I got to benefit from hearing the comments as he walked up and down each of the different pods, but it's the little things sometimes that mean the most to people.
It's so amazing, right? That's what I think the power of art and craftsmanship can do. And again, it's a simple gesture,
Yeah,
right? Simple gesture. I'm so glad that she did that. I'm so glad that you got your purple octopus.
I do. And it just it put such a smile because you can kind of squeeze it if you're frustrated
Yeah.
and just put a
It's
smile on
unique,
everyone's
right?
face.
It's such a unique little thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I love that. So, so good. So good.
It was a good lesson today, which I really appreciated.
Anything else that you want to share with the listeners? Insights?
Those are the major ones. I had a really good week last week. It was good to get away for 3 days,
Yeah,
even though
because you're in Florida, right?
I was in Florida, Tampa for work, just to connect with people individually, one on one, and as a team. The team really gets along well. Um, Everyone, was like happy I was there. I was able to contribute, even though this isn't my area of expertise. These are like people who do enterprise program and portfolio management for large companies, which is not my background, but I'm their um, practice manager. So I help on behind the scenes a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it was just really good, and just connecting with the guys and the ladies, and um, just having it was the one-on-one conversations that I valued the most a lot, where I just had a time with several of them just to get away and talk and learn about their life and struggles and offer advice or take advice, and
Yeah.
sharing back and forth that it's what work used to be back in the day when we were all in buildings together. And I think
Mhm.
we kind of missed that. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
It's huge, right? There's something to be said about like being in contact with other people. I mean, remote work and everything like that is good, but boy, it's sure nice to be in community around other people.
Absolutely.
And even in a even for a work thing. It's like, oh, hey, we're physically near each other. We actually get to do this, right?
Yeah,
Huge, buddy.
it was good.
Uh, well, thank you for sharing that. And all the stuff that Doug and I are talking about, again, all that stuff happens through explorations that we've discovered along the way to our own stuff. So, with that said, we definitely want to point you towards the 1 month Buffalo Journal. You can find it over at I'd rather be a Buffalo.com. And actually, you can get a free PDF version if you sign up for it. If you click through some of the links that we send you as well, you can always get a hard copy version of it if you want to from Amazon. And then that way you can write and jot stuff down. But at the very least, the practice of putting pen to paper is huge, especially as you're going through some of the uncomfortable feelings or challenges or things that you have. That 1 month Buffalo Journal specifically deals with finding your purpose, talking about finding your purpose. So head on over to I'd rather be a buffalo.com. Sign up. We'll send you a free PDF so you can get to doing it and do some of the stuff that we talk about here. That's all I got. Thanks.
Awesome.